Welcome back to another episode of Locky Top Sports. I'm your host tonight, Josh, with my co-host here, Andy. It's been a bit of a wild week for Tennessee sports, so we'll kind of jump right into it, man. Huge news Tuesday night when the college football playoff rankings were released, Andrew. We saw our beloved Tennessee Volunteers make it in, even after the AP poll and the coaches poll had us at number 6. The committee had us at number 7, sitting us on the 9 seed to travel to Ohio State. Immediate reaction when you saw the selection. Well, not really selection Sunday. We're not there yet, but the basically the ipso facto selection before the conference championship games. Man, what was your thoughts?
It's disappointing, but not surprising. I was hoping that just kind of like following the principle of like away home, in college football, that's like a huge determining factor. And dropping away games in the conference versus like losing at home, I feel like there should be some differentiation there in the treatment, and I feel like the committee did not do that. I'm not saying that losing to Arkansas is like defensible act, so to speak. It was a terrible thing, but that being said, so is losing to Michigan at home as a huge favorite, and just based on how the format is now, we know that pretty much the chance of hosting a home playoff game is gone unless some crazy things happen where in one of the conference championship games somebody blows the other by like 5 touchdowns or something. Unlikely. So that's a huge blow. But that being said, I think we've been very vocal about how we need to prove that if we belong, we need to go win on the road, right? And what better way to do that than having the first appearance be on the road, a true road game at the camp, the opponent's campus, rather than like a neutral site games like the previous college football playoff games have been. And I think I'm all for it because if we can't go on the road and beat somebody, like ultimately that tells me like we weren't really a true contender. So while it sucks, I came to sort of accept that, and so be it. Whether it's gonna be Ohio State, Penn State, bring it on.
Yeah, I agree. And you saw Josh Heupel in the interview on National Signing Day yesterday, and big day for the Vols. We're sitting with a top 10 class for the class of 2025. But not to get into so much of the topic of the recruiting class, but the second part of that interview was really geared. You're coming right out of the announcement of where we're going to be potentially playing at the middle of this month, and he laid it out there. He said, at this point, you got to be ready to go anywhere and play anybody, no matter what. And if you're not prepared to do that, and if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to make it very far in the playoffs. So I like that approach from Coach Heupel. I can admire that and respect that. So I hope our team carries that forward when we're potentially going to, it looks like either Penn State or Ohio State, depending on the outcome of the Big Ten championship game with Oregon. So since we're talking about that game, let's go ahead and hop into the conference championship predictions. Penn State, Oregon, Big Ten championship game. Andy, thoughts on that one?
Oregon is a 3.5-point favorite. It's sort of a weird situation that the newcomer, is just completely dominating the conference and going into the championship. And I have to say, like a lot of it looks like all signs are pointing to Oregon, and I don't know if that's like the square in me just wanting to say that, but probably, but also James Franklin as a coach, he has a pretty bad track record against the top teams. Like he's pretty good at doing what he can with limited resources compared to other elite programs because Penn State will never out recruit Ohio State, Bama, whatever, Michigan, Georgia. But then he's pretty
Not
good
even us.
too.
They won't even out recruit us.
Right.
To be
So he's
honest with
pretty
you.
good at going like, beating up the bullshit Big Ten teams and sort of, coming up short against the
9-3,
better teams.
10-2, pretty, average, year in, year out.
Right. And I read a stat the other day. It said since James Franklin got there, Penn State is 3-19 versus top 10 teams.
Wolf.
Now, Tennessee until we got Josh as a coach. Pretty similar story, right? So like I'm not the one
It
to
was.
talk.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I
Right.
remember from like 09 to, through the Jeremy Pruitt era, from Lane Kiffin all the way through to 2020, it was really bad stats. I don't even think Derek Dooley won a matchup versus a top 25 opponent while he was at Tennessee. And I think Butch Jones was probably, as bad as we want to bash him, he was probably responsible for
like 80% of those.
All of the top 25 wins. I don't even know that Jeremy Pruitt even had one.
Right. So hey,
something
I
to
know
be
what
said
it's
about
like.
that. And we've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But man, it feels good to be on the other end of that these days, right?
Exactly. And just again, like going by that, I also read that James Franklin is like 1-14 against top 5 teams. That one lone win being the one against Ohio State in 2016, 2017, when they had that fluke block field goal return for a touchdown. So, I just think not that I'm like super high on Oregon. I just don't think Penn State is the one to prove all of us wrong. Just going with the patterns, history, whatever you want to call it.
Definitely not. Okay, the biggest one that I think that's on my radar this weekend is the Georgia Bulldogs playing in Atlanta versus the Texas Longhorns for the SEC championship. I'll be honest with you, after we pummeled Vandy last game, after we kind of worked through whatever the fuck that was in the first quarter and started playing like, Tennessee plays against Vanderbilt. At the end of that game, man, I was happy that we were in the playoffs and we didn't have to go to Atlanta to play because we were beat up. I think both Texas and Georgia will come into that game beat up. And do you think that gives either one of them an advantage outside of the bye week? If you lose the SEC championship game, I think you really put yourself in a bad spot. Give me your thoughts on that. And who do you think? Spoiler for me, I'm going to take Georgia to double dip and win the SEC championship and beat Texas for the second time. But let me get your thoughts on where you think that matchup plays out. And do you think that the injury bug obviously is going to have some factors that might even be newsworthy going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I have to take Georgia here. And the most recent game on everyone's mind is Georgia being taken to multiple overtimes with Georgia Tech versus Texas sort of shutting down A&M. So I think that's
8 overtimes, bro. Jesus.
Yeah,
that was a marathon.
That was crazy, right? So I feel like that might be why. Also, like they always say, it's hard to beat the same team twice, and we've seen that with like whenever Georgia and Bama, or like Bama and LSU would play in the in the regular season or SEC or in the Natty whatever playoffs. So I get all of that. But that being said, I have to take Georgia here. Same with you. As for the advantage or disadvantage, you're right. Like if you go to the conference championship game and lose, that's like you played an extra game. Now you have to go play the first round and then the quarterfinals, semifinals, and all that. So that kind of sucks. On the flip side, it's a one sure way to assure that you advance, and then you're waiting for the first round matchups to happen while you recover, right? So, I think there's definitely some things to be said about like having a 5 seed, which would be very advantageous because you get the weakest player. But then, like nothing is guaranteed. So like if you just go and win the conference championship, you at least are sure fire into Elite Eight. And I think that's probably what's on like Kirby's mind, Sark's mind.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you there. Do you think anybody will get punished for losing their conference championship?
SMU, I think if they lose, they're out.
I think so too. I think me and you and a couple of the other guys in the Locky Top Sports group chat, we've kind of talked about that ad nauseum, especially when you mix in Chase, our big resident Carolina Gamecock fan.
Right.
I know that he felt some type of way, and maybe deservingly so. I like to try to talk a lot of sense into him to temper his expectations because he has such a shitty football team. But I digress. We'll move past that a little bit to talk about Clemson being able to lose to South Carolina, basically play a really weak schedule all year long, and can potentially, with the help of Syracuse this past Saturday, win the ACC championship game because now they're in it. And I think to our, what we were just saying to that point, I think SMU is definitely going to be out. I think the committee is going to give the ACC, they're going to make them a one bid conference from the auto bid of the conference championship. Do you think Clemson gets it done?
No, I think not that I'm high on SMU, but I think, like you said, Clemson.
Here we go. He's calling a shot.
Yeah, every good team they played, not even good teams. I mean, they lost to Louisville. I mean, who are we to talk shit about losing to Georgia? But at the end of the day,
they got boat raced by Georgia. Boat raced.
I just don't believe Clemson can do it. I mean, it'll be a cool story just to say like the 9-3, still got a chance and whatever. And you can say it's, like you said, it's maybe not most fair sort of thing, kind of like you can just chill in the NBA Eastern Conference and, make the playoffs and, like being under 500 type of thing. But it is what it is. If you want to get in, win it, you're in it. If you lose, you're out. What sucks for SMU is they're ranked like high enough right now that you would think even if they lose, they should get the at-large bid. But as we all know, the committee is not gonna do that. They're gonna push Alabama in there. So a lot going on for SMU. But I think SMU wins. This spread is a little weird, -2. I don't know if I'd want to take something that inviting looking, but maybe money line.
Free money, man. Go make it.
That's very true.
Go make it. Let's talk about the Big 12 championship game, man. What do you think plays out there?
This is kind of rather unpredictable, I think, Iowa State being there. But all that being said, I guess, especially considering how hot BYU started the season, going undefeated, and then, sort of finishing out the season with the consecutive losses and stuff. I want to say like Arizona State, but I really honestly don't know. I've watched some Arizona State games. I've not watched much of Iowa State at all. So I don't think this is like an educated guess. Just looks like what is more feasible. So Arizona State is like a 1.5 favorite. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be something. Iowa State winning. I mean, they would have to be the worst team, I think, to make it if they won their conference championship. So I think Sun Devils, I think they kind of have played well enough throughout the year in the Big 12, even though the Big 12, I would argue, is probably the weakest Power 4 conference. I think they've played enough good football to make it in. So, what's the one I'm forgetting, man?
The G5
at large. Man, you think Boise State going to come in and make the playoffs?
I think Boise State wins, but this spread is rather large for a pretty evenly matched teams. And they actually did play one another. Boise, I think, won by like 4 the last time, which is why the spread is set at 4.5. I think Boise wins, but I would take UNLV here. With the whole Heisman hype, there's probably a lot of public money that's coming into Boise State. That just seems very fishy to me. So I would take the underdog to cover the spread here, but I'm not sure if UNLV has what it takes to win the game.
Never bet against Vegas unless it's UNLV. That's what I'm going to say. I think they got the Heisman front runner there with their running back there, Boise State. I think it's just the media Cinderella story for Boise. They've always been a really consistent group of 5 team historically. So I think they get in by the skin of their teeth, and they'll be welcome to real college football once the playoffs start. That's my gut feeling. I really don't think that they'll be very competitive against anybody that they play in the 12 teams, no matter who they draw. So what are your thoughts about that? You think Boise even gets out of I know that they would get in. Do you think they get past their first game?
No.
Oh man, that was that was pretty emphatic. It was like straight no.
Just being realistic.
At least we agree. At least we agree on that. But so let's talk about that. We got some first round matchup odds here. Some hypotheticals. We kind of mentioned a few, but let's kind of go back and revisit the Tennessee Ohio State hypothetical matchup. Man, if that's not a big time, ratings matchup there for all the cable network providers, YouTube TV, whoever cut the check, ESPN, it's going to be amazing. I even think TNT is going to be involved in the playoffs. That's what I heard, that they're going to be part of this.
Really?
This whole
On the first round?
production. Yeah. So ratings are going to be great for all the TV companies for that game. Do you think there's going to be anything that changes in the conference championship games? They could potentially get the game to Knoxville, or do you think it's a collision course for Tennessee to go to Columbus?
I think it's pretty much a said and done scenario. Also, like you said, it's the committee probably salivating at the thought of that.
Yeah, Ward Manuel, man.
Yeah,
that guy.
I mean, hey, why don't we give him two losses and plant the fucking flag on the midfield?
Ward Manuel's like real life Peter Griffin. I'm telling you, dude. Like, he just comes on there and he's just like this disheveled troglodyte that really doesn't know much. He's responsible for, I guess, winning a national championship of football with Michigan, but also being the AD that was part of the biggest cheating scandal in the NCAA in probably the last 40 years.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to go all the way, but we mentioned SMU. We'd probably have to go all the way back to the glory days of SMU, to the death penalty, to find something that's so egregious of what Connor Stallions did with the whole sign stealing thing there at Michigan, which also led to Cockgate, as we know it to be affectionately called here, in Big Orange Country, with South Carolina ruining our 2022 season by stealing our signs. Anyway, I say all that to agree with you. I think that it's kind of inevitable to Vol Nation to have to make the trek up to Columbus. From what I hear, Columbus is a really shitty place. But really outside of the actual campus. But when you look at it in the eons of time throughout college football, the Horseshoe is probably one of those majestic key locations that you would probably want to see a college football game.
Right.
A good old Donnybrook break out there. Great atmosphere for a big time college football game. We've only played the Buckeyes one time in our history. We are undefeated against Ohio State. We beat them in the 1996 Citrus Bowl. Shout out Eddie George, former Titan. Love you, man. Know you're down at TSU fighting for your life as the head coach there right now. But hopefully the Vols will be able to go up to Columbus and do what I hope and expect them to do. Let's make it out of the first round. What are your thoughts? Do you think Tennessee, if they have to go on the road, can Josh Heupel get a Tennessee team motivated to go on the road to play someone with a pulse, with a number beside their name or in front of their name? I think that's been the Achilles heel to Josh's tenure, and I've been very critical of him on that topic. So, thoughts on our way to Columbus? Do we get it done, Andrew?
We all hope that happens.
No,
like
I want you to tell me, man. We gonna do it?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm optimistic. I believe so, just based on how how we flipped the script after that terrible start. Last week versus Vandy. It all struck us, right? Like it felt like a trauma. Here we go on the road. Just sloppy, undisciplined, unfocused. But that being said, I know Vandy's not that great of a team, but just the fact that they were able to like get their shit together and pull out a convincing win gave me some hopes. On the flip side, you look at Ohio State and what Ryan Day's done. He also doesn't have a great track record versus like a top 5 teams. He's lost to Georgia, he's lost to Oregon, yeah, he's lost to Bama, like
unranked Michigan at home.
Yeah, so Ryan Day is basically like a rich man's James Franklin. Hey, like Harbaugh said, right? Some people are born on the third base. We don't really know if this guy truly can coach, or is it just all his great NFL players there, just kind of brand name recruiting itself, players, 5-star receivers, quarterbacks. I mean, this guy lost with C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson on his team.
Let's be honest. Like that Georgia playoff game that you're talking about there, Marvin Harrison Jr. That was a targeting that should have played out a lot different than it did. But we'll move on from that. I'll agree to disagree on that one take, but I do think that Ohio State was just a victim of the SEC screw job in the Georgia game a couple of years ago. I give Tennessee a lot of optimism. I really do think that from the perspective of Ohio State never plays Tennessee. There's not a lot of tape in the Big Ten on how Tennessee's offense works. And we saw that kind of start clicking. I think the lights were really coming on for Nico there against Vanderbilt. And we saw some good flashes there, I'd say, in the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Even against Georgia, I think Nico played really well. We did have a lot of drop passes, and we won't rehash that whole game, but we had a lot of things that really weren't Nico's fault in the second half.
Right.
Defensive collapse, coupled with some bad drops in opportune situations by our wide receivers. But I don't think Ohio State obviously is prepared for Tennessee's offense. I think Josh Heupel will thrive with that. And I think we beat Ohio State, then we go to the Rose Bowl potentially to play Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Oregon's ready. And I'd also say our defense, especially our front seven, man, no one in the Big Ten is giving Oregon or Ohio State any of that smoke like Tennessee's defense would. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we saw how Ohio State struggled against the physical Michigan defensive front.
Absolutely. I mean, it was, 10-7, right? Final?
They 13-10?
13-10? Yeah.
13-10.
So still, 23 points combined.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And I will also say, if you look historically, Josh Heupel against non SEC teams, and we can look at some of the bowl games. I mean, he's just lit them up. I mean, Iowa was probably, the latest victim of that. But you even look at Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson didn't have much tape. Look what we did to them in the Orange Bowl. And then, we won't talk about Purdue. We did light Purdue up in the Music City Bowl 3 years ago, but we know what happened there. We got the screw job. Yeah. So, we're past playing the Music City Bowls and stuff like that. So, again, we won't rehash that. But yeah, to my point, Tennessee, I think, has the advantage there. I think our defense obviously is good enough to go up against anybody, and nobody in the Big Ten really showcases the type of offense that Tennessee has shown that they've been able to do the last few games. So I like our chances. Is there any other intriguing matchups that you see in the first round?
Bama at Notre Dame potentially, assuming Bama gets in.
Bama's in, dude. Come on, let's just cut that out. Can we please? Can we cut the nonsense out of thinking that Alabama's not going to make the fucking college football playoff? Like, I'm sorry. Anybody that listened to Ward Manuel 2 nights ago knows they're in.
He pretty much said that. Yeah,
he said it without saying it. They're in. Yeah, did they win as many top 25 games as fucking South Carolina did? Absolutely not. But who beat South Carolina? Alabama. Listen, South Carolina fans, if you want to make the playoffs, don't lose your football games against Alabama. Okay? Seriously. Like that, I mean, it is what it is, man. And
it is what it is.
I understand that Shane Beamer's very upset. And all of Gamecock Nation's very upset. So why should we play hard games if they don't matter? I hear you. You won a lot of road games. I hear you. But come on. When you're home games, yeah, you're 4-1 on the road, but yet losing record at home. Like, make it make sense. You know what I mean? So that's why you missed a playoff game or a chance to play a playoff game, South Carolina fans. You have nobody to blame but yourself. And let's be honest, if you look at it, you should have dog walked Alabama. Look what Oklahoma did to them. And then in turn, look what South Carolina did to Oklahoma. Now, I know that we're not big on transitive properties here on Locky Top Sports, and especially in such a league like the SEC that cannibalizes itself. But at the end of the day, when the records are the same and the losses are even-ish, when it comes to the caliber of team that you lost to, I mean, the only thing that you can do is go back and look and say, oh, shit, man, they got the same exact record. They've played similar teams. Well, fuck, if only we had something that could definitively tell us who is the better team. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. They played each other, and it proved who the better team was. Alabama is better than South Carolina. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Gamecock Nation. I'm sorry, but go ahead, Andrew. That all that needed to be put to rest and put to bed. Alabama is in the playoffs, and to your point, yes, I agree. The matchup with Notre Dame will probably be the next, as far as rating goes, game on everybody's radar to kind of tune in for.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. One thing I would bring up is if the case were flipped, Bama would still get in.
Absolutely, dude.
And we saw it when
we dropped to 11 and they were 7. Did you see? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we beat them head to head.
Even in 2022, right? Bama lost to Tennessee and LSU.
That's right.
We lost to Georgia and South Carolina, and Bama ended up going to higher bowl game despite the head-to-head. Finished the season ranked higher. Again, like,
well, I'd argue
there's the Bama privilege a little bit.
Sure, I'd argue the Sugar Bowl versus the Orange Bowl It's not college football play. I mean, it is. What do they used to call them? The New Year's Six.
New Year's Six.
So yeah, it was part of the New Year's Six bowls. All right, those there's 2 games that are not part of the playoffs or the participation trophy for the college football playoffs. Basically, like, yeah, you got a New Year's Six, huge bowl, huge payout, great cities, NOLA and Miami. But yeah, to your point, we did get royally hosed, but I'll selfishly say I enjoyed my time. I think I enjoyed my trip to Miami more than I would have enjoyed another trip to New Orleans, because we had already done that when we went to Baton Rouge.
For sure.
So,
but
it kind of worked out.
Yeah, and it's just I think about
it's
this.
The hypocrisy, though. It's so much the hypocrisy.
What would committee do if South Carolina won the head-to-head, but they lost to Oklahoma, and then Bama lost the head-to-head, but then went on a 6-game winning streak? The committee's gonna say, "Oh, we can't, not put, fire Alabama on a banker run." Like, there's just no way.
No, they wouldn't, and they proved to even last year.
Right.
Alabama getting in over
Georgia and
Florida,
FSU.
Yeah, Georgia and Florida State. So Bama privilege is still alive and well, even though Nick Saban is gone.
Exactly.
Hate to see it. But who do you think wins that matchup, Notre Dame or Alabama?
Notre Dame's playing really well, but I think I would actually take Bama there. Gun to my head, where would you put the money on? I think I go Alabama, because Notre Dame, they're playing really, really well. Don't get me wrong, but also, like, very questionable. Like, we don't know how good this team is or how bad this team is. Like, all year, their best win is basically like Texas A&M. Who started out hot, but then, as always, finished 8-4.
That's right.
So
A&M is a 8-4 lock.
8-4, man. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know how good this team is. I guess we'll find out. Bama, their lows are low, but their highs are also, like, very high. And I don't know what's worse, losing to Oklahoma or losing to NIU at home. Yeah, for me, the losing to
I think NIU at home is
right
worse.
The talent gap, and all that.
It's not even close.
Also, the environment, right? Like, a CC road game at night versus, like, at your own house. Like, are you kidding me? So
yeah, I mean, we went there. We went to the Oklahoma game. Obviously, they hadn't had their season kind of turn out the way it did when we were there. I would argue the environment that Tennessee played in on the road at Oklahoma was probably 10 times that of what Alabama walked into. But Alabama's in.
Yep.
And
Alabama's in.
They're on a collision course with the Catholics. And, we have, me and you both, baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, Catholics. I think we could probably say up a few Hail Marys, because I would just absolutely lose my Christmas lunch if I had to sit there and watch Alabama and Notre Dame go into this college football playoff, play each other, and somehow Bama make it to the next round. I need the Bama thing to kind of go away. I'm borderline on the opinion of whether they deserve it or not. Of course they do, because they won the head-to-head. But let's kind of talk about that a little bit more. I know I went into a diatribe about South Carolina, but what about Ole Miss, man? They're missing the playoffs too. There's some other snubs out there. In your opinion, who do you think's the biggest snub?
I would say Ole Miss, probably. But then again, the reason for leaving them out is kind of justified. As much as I hate seeing Bama go in, losing at home, it's just kind of, in my opinion, it's like a cardinal sin. Like, you can't not protect your house versus, like, these unranked, not good teams, and then say you deserve it. And
you talking about LSU?
No, I'm talking about Kentucky.
Or Kentucky, that's right. My bad.
Yeah.
You lose to Kentucky, you have nobody else to blame.
Yeah, like losing in Death Valley at night game, and
Meh.
like, understandable.
And then going to the swamp, losing there.
Understandable.
Florida started getting hot at the end of the year.
Right. With the new quarterback,
DJ Lagway.
Right. So that I think is defensible.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not excited to go down there and play them next year with DJ Lagway, but I wouldn't say scare is where I'm at yet. But I would say apprehensive right now.
Yeah, I wanted to enjoy 10 more years of Florida sucking ass.
That's right. Right. That's right. I agree.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss, big snub for you.
It is, if I had to pick who's not definitively in it, and we know Bama's in it. So of those, fringe 11 to 15 ranked teams, I think Ole Miss has the sort of the biggest excuses to say why aren't we in? We beat Georgia and all that, but like you said, South Carolina, unfortunately, the head-to-head kind of put you behind Bama. Miami, I'm not really, I don't think there's a lot of case or reasons to really say they're one of the 12 best teams in the country.
Because if you look at it, I mean, let's be honest, they were a challenge or replay away from losing a game earlier in the year. They've had some help.
Twice. The Hail Mary getting turned over, and then the targeting versus Cal. So
yes. So they've had a lot of help that really kind of changed their season, so to speak. So they were definitely getting the benefit of the doubt. And then when they pissed down their leg when they played Syracuse. Hey.
Yeah, and you were up 21 points, right? All you had to do is just close it out.
Yeah. Which, I enjoyed watching their quarterback play all year. I think he's a pretty special athlete. He was in the Heisman conversation all year. Hate to see Miami kind of go the way that they did. I was ready for the U to make a comeback, man. I needed that back in college football. I think when Miami's good, it's good for college football.
Right. It's like one day if Cowboys were to start winning, it's like the big name brands, right? Like Lakers,
absolutely,
Yankees, Dodgers, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some college basketball. Man, gotta hit the air horn, dude. Our Tennessee Vols, are going to inevitably be the number one team in the country come
foresaw that
Monday when they released the AP poll for next week. Because you had Kansas losing last night. You had Auburn getting sniped by the Dukies. It was a great evening to just sit back and watch that after, 2 nights ago, we absolutely destroyed Syracuse. And I know in Jim Boeheim, Syracuse, we don't have Carmelo Anthony coming out there, and they're not sitting in a 2-3 zone on defense. And, not Jim Boeheim, Syracuse, but still formidable. They're 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out there and, did what we've basically done all year and just took care of business start to finish. We got a guy on our team, Kaz Lanier, big time bucket getter. I didn't think that Deacon Rick would be able to go out and find another gem out there in the portal. Kaz Lanier, pleasant surprise. I called my shot. If you'll go back a few episodes, I told you some key players to look out for. I told you Akpara would be one as well. After I spent some time with them back over the summer at one of the camps that Tennessee had, I seen that there was something special going on with those cats. I didn't know it was going to be to this level, but arguably, I think this is the best Tennessee team that Rick Barnes has had since he's been there. Thoughts, Andy? Chaz Lanier and the Tennessee offense, and then your Rick Barnes defense is always going to be baked into the cake. Where do you see this year's team going, and what are your early thoughts on a very young college basketball season so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasant surprise for sure. It's crazy that we arguably lost the one of the, if not the best players in the history of the program. I know we had some back in the days like King, Allen Houston, but in recent times, like one of the best players in the
Oh,
program history.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
it's gone and it got better. It's kind of like the Peyton Manning leaving, and then the glory days of
Yeah,
1998.
T. Martin in the '98 Vols coming right in. Pleasant surprise. No one saw that coming.
Right. So, hey, maybe this is the year. Again, it's hard to sort of see what is real and what is not real yet until conference plays start, and we play some good teams. I mean, like I know we've beaten some ranked teams so far, but it's too early in the season. You don't know what teams are really
We
ranked.
made Baylor lick the white dog shit, man. It was
Yep.
something. It was something to see. And when we went down to play in the holiday tournament down in what was it, the
Bahamas.
Bahamas,
Yeah.
man, like we did that on back-to-back nights. So two pretty good teams, Virginia, in that opening round game as well. So
Yeah.
you got
Promising.
you got to take your hat off to what Rick Barnes has done there. Obviously, established a culture. I mean, coming off your best season probably in program history with an Elite Eight appearance, and then if we wouldn't have had to run into Zach Edey, we'd probably been in the Final Four, and yeah, there would have been potential there.
This might
But
be the year. Hey.
yeah, retrospect, it might be the catalyst that sparks us into the championship game this year. I hope so. I'm very optimistic. One bad part that's kind of came out so far in the early piece of this year is our boy JP Estrella. Big JP Estrella guys here on Locky Top Sports. Hold them up, Andy. Hold them up. Big JP Estrella guys. Love JP. Hope you heal up quick, brother. And we're looking forward to seeing you back out there. But any other guys? Chaz Lanier is kind of a self-licking ice cream cone. That guy just goes out and throws absolutely everything at the rim, and it just falls in. Anybody else out there? So Kai Ziegler is, a very consistent player. He's the glue. He's our continuity. He's our culture guy. But out of the newcomers in the portal, outside of Chaz, like who you really high on?
I like Felix.
Okpara.
That's it.
Yeah,
Okpara.
Felix Okpara.
I like the hustle.
Transfer from Ohio State.
That's right. Yeah, I like. I feel like he's giving a lot. Maybe not so much on offense, but I feel like he's always there contesting shots and.
Absolutely, he's one of my favorites too. And he gives us everything that we wish we could have got out of Jonas Adu on the defensive side of the ball. We didn't need Jonas to go out there and score a million points. We had Dalton do that, but if we could have had him man up a little bit, and oh, by the way, I haven't seen Jonas Adu do much of anything down in Arkansas since he transferred. So I think he's just been on the bench on some of the games that I've been able to catch of the Razorbacks. But I'll tell you, Okpara has been a pleasant surprise there. I think that's going to be the linchpin to our success, especially the way that we're going to want to play this year. And, the proof's in the pudding, man. Look how it's played out.
Right.
We're the number one team in the country right now. Has it been higher on Rocky Top in my lifetime to remember Tennessee in the college football playoffs? The Lady Vols resurgent all the way back to where they have. Shout out to Coach Kim. She's a few months pregnant and still out there just walking the dog on everybody. You got the men's basketball team ranked number 1 on the country, and we are still your defending baseball national champions at Tennessee. Shout out to Tony V and the baseballs, man. Like, what athletic program in the nation can tout such a a record like that, man, of success?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Would you have ever thought as a Tennessee fan when, you signed up for this, 15, 20 years ago that this would be where you're at as a fan?
No, but it's about damn time after the suffering of the early fandom years. So, definitely gonna enjoy it as long as it lasts. And fun fact, I guess a day after we officially, and I don't doubt that we will become number one on Monday. I'll go see them Tuesday here in New York, as well as Jonas, who will be, keeping that bench warm.
For the Hogs.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a doubleheader: Tennessee, Miami, and then Michigan, Arkansas. So I'll do some scouting, and we'll report back next week.
Awesome, man. That's always a cool experience, I think, especially for the folks in New York. There is an actual big following up there. Andrew's probably one of the ringleaders of that. But for kids like Sakai, New York kid, to go back and play MSG, there's just something about that building that gets the basketball juices flowing. And I would argue any, competitive juices flowing when you get to MSG. It's just a staple for, the sports identity that's just been woven into American culture. So going to be a big game, going to be a marquee matchup. Two games there, like Andrew mentioned. Obviously, we really only care about one. But yeah, get all the scouting you can get for us and bring us back some good stuff.
Will do.
So talk to me. Do you have a spread for that game? And then if not, we can go ahead and get into best bets. But obviously, I think you're going to probably take Tennessee to win that game against Miami, right?
At this point, money line is gonna be like something crazy. And I expect a double-digit spread against Miami, a team with the below 500 record. So it's gonna be like a -14 or some bullshit. But they've been really excellent at covering the spread and then the margin of victory. Like, they've been winning their games on average by like 15 points or so. So it should be pretty good. We'll see. It spread's not out yet. Just it's quite far out. Even though Tennessee doesn't play another game until then, like the other teams do. So spread's not out yet. We'll see how that goes. As for best bets, I mean, my bets are basically what we walked through today. Taking Oregon to win, SMU to win, Arizona State to win. I'm going to take Georgia and then UNLV to cover 4.5.
Man, I mean, that's really mine too. So I'm not going to rehash all the picks. Andrew and me are sharing the same ones. I'm going to go money line on all those in a parlay and see if they hit. So
yeah.
I think that'll be a good value for you guys, listening in. So I think that's all we got for this week. It's kind of a slower week as we, trudge our way onward to the college football playoff. Conference play hasn't kicked off yet in college hoops, but will be in the coming weeks. So with that, stay tuned into Lucky Top Sports. We will be bringing you a lot more content as conference play picks up for college basketball. We know and we've seen the data to support that you guys like our college basketball shows, live reactions and stuff. We'll pick back up after the new year. So appreciate you guys tuning in for Lucky Top Sports. I'm Josh. He's Andy. We love the Tennessee Vols, and we hope that we get to go to Ohio State and take care of business. But we'll see how this chaos unfolds with the championship games, and we'll see you next week. Go Big Orange.
Go Big Orange.